So our first question, guys, is who is your favorite fictional superhero? Or at the very least, who is the first superhero that you remember that made an impact on you personally? I'll start with Greg and put you on the spot.
Well, that's a really hard question. There were several that really pop into my mind. Spider-Man, obviously, one of my favorites of all time. Also, Adam West Batman and the Super Friends.
Yeah, Spider-Man, obviously, for me. Yeah. I am like all out Spider-Man. It's the first thing that really connected with me in my entire life. Since earliest childhood, I've always loved Spider-Man, from cartoons, from every other kind of media. The idea of responsibility and power, it's so overly cheesified and stuff these days because it's such an easy buzz term. But at the time when I was growing up, it was not something that was all plastered on everything. And so when it was something that you really had to believe at your core, that's me. That's what I believe. That's my core belief.
And I was talking a little bit earlier to Jarrett that, one of my pipe dreams was that I would actually get to meet Steve Ditko, which is never going to happen. But now that sadly he just passed, so that's never going to happen. But Stan Lee and Steve Ditko's run, those were amazing.
Well, you know how many Steve Ditko cosplays I have because I love Steve Ditko so much.
Yeah.
So we're gonna go Chen.
Yeah. If we're talking comics, I grew up. I think I've brought this up on the show before. I grew up having to read what my brother had comics-wise, so I actually grew up on Superman comics, and it's not hard to see how that would influence you to do good things and want to be a good person and everything like that, since that is his sole thing is to do these great things. But if we're talking about just in general the first superhero type character that inspired me,
well, doesn't have to be your first. Just who's your favorite?
Inspired you, in general, to actually do something. And I'm totally not going to say Rainbow Bright as much as I really want to. But
I was over here.
You were waiting for it. I know. Rainbow Bright. She taught me to look for sunshines and happiness and everything, and that's totally true. But no, the first superhero type character that really made me want to do something was actually Captain Planet. As weird as that is to go with,
so
but
not weird.
I always wanted to save. I still want to save the ocean and the environment.
That was really
so
cool.
The one.
That's exactly. I didn't even think Captain Planet, but that fits in exactly what we're talking about. That was. I mean, granted, it was a corporate, decision to make, but the idea of them using a superhero to directly address people doing something about something was so really cool back then. Yeah,
and the real one, not the Don Cheadle one, of course. But no, I really as a kid I was this is your chance to go out there and save the environment. I mean, their marketing technique worked.
I know this is kind of hard off topic. Well, am I wrong in remembering that the pilot episode of that was Tom Cruise?
As the voice?
Yes.
Oh, I have no idea.
I would assume you're wrong.
I would assume you're wrong too.
I remember there was
no
something from back then where Tom Cruise was the voice of the character, but only for the pilot. I want to.
Oh.
Uh-oh. Party foul!
Wow. Everyone stare.
See, we're not even editing that out.
No,
that is your shame.
Anyway.
Yeah,
that's what you get for bringing up Tom Cruise.
Pay attention to Greg. And that was one of the first times I think that they really used a superhero idea to directly address people doing something and making a change in the real world. So other than Captain Planet and Rainbow Bright.
Yeah, I mean, and Superman, the actual comic reading. But
I love George Reed's Superman.
To be fair, Rainbow Bright is getting a comic in October, so
I can see that as a superhero. Yeah, the idea of superhero is very loose these days. At the beginning, even when they were first introduced and defined, they were still basically a spinoff of pulp characters. So, superhero. We were talking before we started recording, and Jarrett was making the observation that what the definition of a superhero is can be very broad, and such. Even Charlie Brown can technically be. But our show kind of explores more of the traditional, iconic superhero kind of stuff.
Charlie Brown's not iconic?
Yeah. Who's your favorite, or the first one that that influenced you?
I'm drawn to Batman and Black Widow and the superheroes that don't have superhuman powers. I think they're really interesting in what they're able to accomplish using, tools or their brain or the skills that they have to build. At the same time, I also love Phoenix and Jean Grey. I really dig the mental powers, and the red hair. But if I had to go first early superhero, I think this is a stretch, but I'm going Xena.
Yes.
I mean, I think what I admired about her then, and I think probably even more what I've learned about the show, getting older, I just think it's great.
Prentiss, who is the first or favorite or most impactful superhero that you can think of? Somebody that...
Mine is totally superficial. Mine was Wonder Woman. I mean, and not because of her power, what she did, it was really her accessories. And the fact that she could spin around and turn into someone else and then have that hair and the tiara and the bracelets that,
But,
so,
that's still something as an inspiration. I mean, it's
for a little
doing
kid
good and
who
looking
wants
good.
to dream, it worked.
Yeah. And Linda Carter was amazing.
Yeah, still is.
There is no doubt that Linda Carter as Wonder Woman influenced so many. It influenced the idea of superheroes being for the masses. Her Batman Adam West show, it did really good, but it was kitschy and it had its thing and it kind of fit in a place. Whereas the Wonder Woman show, it spawned a whole bunch of TV to the point where even ABC was known as the superhero network. I mean, you had Wonder Woman and Shazam, and then they span off ISIS, and then you end up having the Hulk, and then they end up canceling things just because they don't want all the superheroes on them, So yeah, Wonder Woman.
Also, Wonder Woman was about love and about she was about something different than any other superhero that was portrayed before her.
Right.
Really. So I think that was an amazing thing about Wonder Woman, and about the Linda Carter Wonder Woman especially. Yeah.
Okay.
You're up.
You're up.
He looks eager. I'm scared.
Two aspects of your question. One, I have to pull a page from Stan Lee and say I really don't do favorites.
Okay.
But I will say that I'm heavily influenced by Batman, and I have been. But before I really got into Batman comic books, I had this phase, as a lot of kids that are old, like I am now, running home to get home in time to watch the Shazam ISIS Hour. That was high priority. Stop the dodgeball, stop the kick the can, put the bike up, and get in to watch Shazam, because it was a kid who became a superhero and then went back to being a kid. Yeah. And I just thought, that's cool.
And that was always the appeal of the character of Captain Marvel, was that it was the whole idea of superheroes to begin with is the wish fulfillment, but to actually address that directly in this narrative itself.
The true alter ego.
Yeah.
Superman's always Superman.
Yeah.
He becomes Clark Kent.
Yeah.
But Billy Batson became Shazam, and it was a totally different person.
Yeah, no, I've seen the shows. Greg's got the ultimate collection, so I borrow stuff.
Shocker.
But when I read Captain Marvel Shazam is when they had brought him fully into the DC universe in the 90s, and that the Power of Shazam series, and they explore how his subconscious creates this form and everything based on what his father would have looked like and his idealism, and it was what represented his ideals and the pure goodness of a character's heart coming through. And so yeah, that's a pretty cool one too. So we're talking about pureness, we're talking about personal strength, we're talking about fantastic appearance. I mean, these are all incredible qualities that superheroes have.
Fantastic appearance.
And love.
You
gave him love.
And love. So yeah, I love those. Another really cool one, comic book series. If I've ever told you, we were talking about Shazam at the other shop at one time. One of my favorite series that we had, DC did this series called Underworld Unleashed, where basically a devil type character was granting people wishes in exchange for their souls, kind of thing. It was really cool because basically all of the supervillains got upgrades, except for Joker. Joker just traded his soul for a box of Cuban cigars. But the thing is that the whole story, you're reading it, and this demon is trying to win the power to seduce this pure soul, and everybody assumes it's Superman. And you get to the end, and it's Captain Marvel that he really wants, because he knows that Captain Marvel's actually a child, and it's the purest soul of all of the superheroes. So that's a super cool one too. So.
Spoilers for that, like,
yeah.
really old comic. In case you were wondering to pick that up later.
If
Spoilers.
you haven't read it yet, sorry.
Yeah, that was back when DC had like one major crossover a year, and so I liked that one. So, were those my main two questions? Yeah, I like those. We're gonna do another section for you guys here in just a second. I think we feel good about where we're starting. So thank y'all for joining us. We'll be back in a moment.